Hi. I hope everybody is enjoying a good book, and let's enjoy one together. This is Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. It's about a child who goes owling, right? So going out and searching for owls who are nocturnal, so you have to go out and see them at night with their father. Okay. As we're reading, notice and appreciate how Jane Yolen uses really descriptive language to help readers imagine how the child is feeling. What is the child seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, even tasting? This author also is expert at using really beautiful simile, so let's notice that too. Owl Moon by Jane Yolen, illustrated by John Schoner. There's an owl and its shadow in the snow. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. Okay. Do we know the important who? Pa and the child. Do we know where and when? In the winter, at nighttime, and in the woods. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues. The moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low, like a sad, sad song. So thinking, what could the child who is telling us the story see? The trees still as giant statues. The moon so bright the sky seemed to shine. What could the child hear? A train whistle blowing long and low, like a sad, sad song. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out dogs and trains for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the woods, Pa and I. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow. Little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out, "If you go owling, you have to be quiet." That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy, against the sky. And Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up, as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a mask. Then he called, "Hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo." the sound of a great horned owl. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Okay. Again he called, and then again. After each call he was silent, and for a moment we both listened. But there was no answer. Pa shrugged, and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said, sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. I'm wondering if they'll see an owl before the night is over. We walked on. I could feel the cold, as if someone's icy hand was palm down on my back, and my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. I'm thinking again about what the child could feel. The cheeks cold and hot at the same time. The cold like an icy palm face down on the back. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I had ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind the black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. Thinking about how the child's feeling right now. A little bit scared. And I know that because the narrator is saying, I don't want to know what's behind those dark trees. I know I have to be brave, right? Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. The author really helps me imagine just how white and bright that clearing was. Whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I sighed. And Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf, over my mouth, and I listened hard. Then Pa called, hoo, 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 hoo. I listened and looked so hard. My ears hurt, and my eyes got cloudy. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Pa almost smiled. Then he called back, hoo, 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 just as if he and the owl were talking about supper, or about the woods, or the moon, or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently, with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. The shadow hooted again. The heat of the words not spoken. Because when you go owling, you have to be silent. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. Child with the scarf over the mouth. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without a sound. It flew back into the forest. Time to go home, Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud. But I was a shadow as we walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. So I know that this child, I have an idea how this child feels about their father. I know they really respect and look up to their father because over and over they say, you have to be silent when you go owling. That's what Pa says. I know they've waited so long for the chance to go owling with their father. And I have such a clear picture of what it felt like and what you could see when you went owling and what you could hear when you went owling because of the rich descriptive language that Jane Yolen uses.